Hi everyone, I'm Catherine and today I'm going to be showing you how to make, let me just adjust this adorable pineapple cake. You can order your kit for this class at candylandcrafts.com. If you do order your kit for this class, included in your kit, you would get 3 5-inch cakes, 1 cupcake, a yellow gel food coloring. You would also get black, green, and white fondant, a pastry bag, and a star tip, and an 8-inch decorative cake board. The other things that you will need for this class that are not included, you will need a small spatula, a bread knife or a knife to trim the tops of your cakes. You're going to need a small X-Acto knife or a paring knife just to help cut out the shapes of your fondant, cornstarch or powdered sugar, small cookie cutters if you have them. If you don't, that's totally fine. I tell you a different way to do it. And that's everything. So let's get started. To get started with our pineapple cake, the first thing we're going to want to do is make our pineapple leaves for the cake. I suggest doing this a day or two ahead of time. This will give the fondant time to dry out and harden. If you don't give your fondant time to dry out and harden, when you try to stick your pineapple leaves into your cake, they will crack and bend. So I would do this a day or two before. Once you get your fondant out of the wrapper, you're going to want to use your whole thing of fondant that you get from your kit. You're going to start kneading it and just keep playing with it till you get it all nice and smooth, and then you're going to roll it into a ball. Once you get your fondant all kneaded and smooth, you're going to take some cornstarch or powdered sugar, whichever you have, and you're going to put some down on your mat or your tabletop, whichever you have, and then you're going to take your rolling pin and you're going to roll out the piece of fondant. You don't want it to be too thin, but you don't want it to be too thick either. So using your rolling pin, you're going to roll out your fondant to the thickness you would like. You want to roll out the whole piece of fondant. When you're rolling out your fondant, you're going to want to make sure you pick it up and move it around. Make sure it's not sticking to the table. If it is sticking, just add a little bit more cornstarch or powdered sugar underneath it and just keep rotating it the best you can. Move it around just to make sure it's not sticking. Once your fondant is rolled out, you're going to take a paring knife or an X-Acto knife, whatever you have, and you're going to start cutting the leaves out into the fondant. So you're going to want like 1 center leaf that's really big, and then you're going to want 3 or 4 that are slightly smaller to go around, and then again slightly smaller after that, and you're just going to keep cutting a whole bunch of leaves. Just cut as many leaves as you can out of your fondant and put them to the side to dry out overnight. Also, don't forget to put some powdered sugar, cornstarch underneath them so they do not stick to wherever you are leaving them to dry out overnight. So after I cut out the first round of leaves, I'm going to put them to the side to dry out, and then I'm going to continue to roll my fondant and cut as many leaves as I can out of my fondant. When you are done with your leaves, I would leave them again overnight. Then the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just dye all my buttercream that I have yellow, because that's the only color that we're going to be using for this cake. I start with 1 to 2, and then I go from there with how bright I would like my yellow. So now it's time to trim our cakes. So you're going to have your 3 cakes and your 1 cupcake. So we're only going to trim the tops of 2 cakes. So holding the knife to the side, just going to turn the cake into the knife to cut off the hump of the cake. Don't forget, after you cut the hump off your cake, you can save your cake humps later for cake pops or for cakesicles or cake in a jar. Just save and put this aside, and then you're going to cut the hump off of your second cake. But remember, we are not cutting the hump off of our third cake. So this is my third cake. You see that hump? You're going to want that because you know how a pineapple kind of has that hump on the top. So we're going to want to leave that. Now we're going to assemble our cakes. So you're going to put your cake board down first, and then you're going to put a dollop of buttercream onto your cake board. and then you're gonna put your first layer of cake down. You're going to then take a dollop of frosting and you're going to put it in the center of your cake. Okay, then taking your offset spatula, just need to adjust the lighting. There we go. You're going to push the icing out to the edges of your cake the best you can using just your wrist. And then once you get your icing to the edges, you're going to hold your offset spatula towards yourself and you're going to spin your cake turntable, and that will help level all the icing. And then we're going to put our next layer on and repeat the same process. Okay, so for our last cake, it's the cake with the hump. We're gonna put it on the top. Just line it up the best you can. Then you're just gonna take some more buttercream and you're just gonna kind of smear it at the top of the hump part of your cake. Okay, so after that, you're gonna take your cupcake and you're gonna unwrap it. And you're gonna cut that cupcake in half, and then you're gonna cut that in half again, so you have 4 equal parts of your cupcake. And then you're gonna kind of piece it together on the top of that hump part of your cake. Once that's done, I'm just gonna take the extra icing that is hanging out the side of the layers and I'm just gonna smear it around the cake real fast, just to push it into the sides for the crumb coat before we trim the top of the cake, so they just don't get caught in any extra icing that might be hanging off the side of the cake. After I do that, I'm going to take my bread knife, or you can take a paring knife, whatever you have, and then very slowly and gently I'm going to kind of carve at an angle that top piece of cake only, just down on the sides, just to kind of get it more to kind of go more tapered off at the top of the cake. So just slowly go around, take little pieces off at a time. Take your time with this and just keep going around just to get more of a tapered off look. Once you're done with that, whoops, piece of cake fell off, put that right back on. You're just gonna clean up the board with all the extra cake that you trimmed off. You can put it to the side, save it for later, or you can eat it. Enjoy a little snack. And then the next thing we're gonna do is a crumb coat. A crumb coat is just locking in all the crumbs that may fall off the cake so it doesn't get into our final layer of buttercream. If your buttercream is too stiff and your cakes are really moist, you can just add a little bit of water to your buttercream and that will help loosen it up, and it won't pull as much cake off when you're trying to do your crumb coat. After you have your nice thin layer of buttercream on your cake, put it in the fridge to chill. While the cake is chilling for at least 30 minutes, this is a good time to get your pastry bag ready with your star tip. So you're going to fold the top over your pastry bag and you're going to stick the tip inside the bag, and this will give you a good idea of where to cut on your bag because you want the teeth to be sticking out, so you don't cut too much, otherwise the tip will pop right out of the bag. So as you can see, when I push the tip through, all my teeth on my tip are sticking out. So then using my hand and making like a C shape, like a cup, I can fold the bag over my hand, and then I can take the buttercream and scoop it out, and then using the spatula against my hand, it can scrape the spatula clean. And I'm just going to fill my pastry bag with my yellow buttercream. Once I get all my buttercream inside my pastry bag. I'm gonna unfold the top, shake it down, and I'm gonna squeeze the buttercream to the tip, but I'm not gonna push it out. And I'm gonna slide my fingers down the bag to get the buttercream down, and then I'm gonna twist the top to lock it to make sure no buttercream comes out. So now we're going to pipe on the final coat of buttercream onto our pineapple cake. So holding the tip straight up against the side of the cake, you're going to squeeze and release. You don't want the tip to actually touch the cake. It's kind of hovering above it, and you're going to squeeze and release, squeeze and release, squeeze and release. And you're going to do this all around the cake until you get to the top. Once you get to the end of your cake, you're going to see the little ends of the spike stick out. Just put a dab of water on your finger and you can gently push the spikies back in. So you can put your pineapple cake in the fridge, and then you can get out your white fondant and your black fondant, and we're gonna make the eyes for our pineapple cake. So you're gonna need your white fondant again, and then you're gonna roll them out using powdered sugar or cornstarch on the bottom, and you're gonna cut them out in a circle with a little circle cutter, or you can use a knife to cut them out, or you can roll it in a ball and make it a circle, whichever you would like if you don't have the tool to do it. Okay, so I'm going to take the cookie cutter and I'm going to cut out my 2 white circles for the backs of the eyes. While you have your white rolled out, I'm also going to take a smaller cookie cutter. This is going to be for the pupil of our eyes. Not sure which size to use yet, so I'm going to cut a couple different sizes out. If you don't have the sizes, that's okay. Again, like I said, you can use whatever you have to cut a circle out, or you can roll it in your hand to make the circle. So I'm just going to cut a couple out and I'm going to put them to the side. So next you're going to take your black fondant and knead it just like we did with the white, and then we're going to roll this out, and you're going to want to cut this size slightly smaller than the big white circles, because we're going to put this on top of the big white circles to make our pineapple eyes. After you cut your black circles out, you're going to want to get like a tiny dish of water and a paintbrush, or you can use your finger for this, and you're just going to lightly dab the back of the black fondant with the water to help it stick to the white fondant. You don't want too much water, otherwise the black will bleed onto the white fondant. And you're going to repeat the process again for, sorry, that was my dog, sorry, for the other eyeball. So now it's time to add like the white part of the eyes. So what I'm going to do is I first put the big white circle on, and I don't like how that looks. I think it's too big, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off, and then I'm going to put the next size white circle that I cut out onto the eyeballs, because I think that just looks too big. If you like how it looks, then be my guest. This is your pineapple cake. You can put the big one, but I like the smaller one. And then I'm gonna do the same thing for the other eye, and then to give it that cartoony look, like its eyes are like so big and like glossy, I'm gonna cut out even smaller circle, and I'm gonna kind of put it to the diagonal side of the bigger white circle I just put on top of the black one. So as you can see, for me to get the smaller white circle, I'm kind of just chipping away little pieces of a circle that I already had, just to make it a little bit smaller, and then I'm just going to add it right there to the side, and I'm going to do the same thing to the other eyeball as well. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of the scrap white fondant that I have to the side, and I'm going to roll it into a little ball in my hand, and I'm gently going to push it onto my black fondant just to give it that extra little glossy-eyed look. You can totally do this. You can totally not do this. This is totally up to you. And again, the way I made that small circle, you can make the other circles for your eyeballs as well. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take an X-Acto knife, or you can take a paring knife, and I'm going to cut like a half moon shape out of my black fondant, like a little smiley face for my pineapple cake. Your pineapple cake can be smiling, frowning, laughing, sticking its tongue out, I don't know, whatever you want it to be doing. And then I'm just going to cut it out, and then using my fingers, I'm going to kind of just mold it into the shape that I would like it to be, and I'm going to put these to the side to dry. When you're done with your eyes, you're going to take your cake out of the fridge, and you're going to look around it and decide what you would like the front of your cake to be. And you're going to use that as your focal point when you start putting the leaves into the top of your cake. So you're going to put your center leaf in, and you're going to go around your cake and then start to put the other leaves around it. I find it helpful if you use a paring knife to help make a little slot to put your leaves in, so you don't have to add so much pressure when trying to push them around. So then you're just going to go around your whole cake at the top and just keep filling in the leaves. Make sure you're wiping off your paring knife between each slit you put into the top of your cake. Okay, so for this next part, you're going to want to put your eyes on. I'm going to try and do this by looking into the camera so you can see how to put the eyes on. So bear with me if they're crooked or whatever. So I'm going to try and decide where I want to put my eyes, and I'm going to place one on, and then I'm going to place the other one on. So I'm just going to gently push it into my buttercream. If your cake is too hard, you could just add a little dollop of fresh buttercream and help it stick. So now I'm going to try and put the other one on, and I cannot tell if that is the right way or not, and just give me a second and I'll figure it out, and I'll get the eye on there. There we go. Okay, so yeah, that looks about right. So I'll put my second eye on, and then the next and final thing is we're going to put the mouth on to our adorable pineapple cake. The same way that we put our eyes, just kind of do it like right in the middle the best you can. Mine's crooked, bear with me, trying to do it in the camera. And there you go. And that is your adorable pineapple cake. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for making a pineapple cake with me today. I hope you had fun. If you have any questions at all, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Pastry Mama. Please feel free to share any pictures of the cake you make with us at Candyland Crafts. You can purchase the kit for this class at candylandcrafts.com. I hope you have a great day.